Yeah, it's been a year since we premiered this work. Since then, come a long way. Made some adaptations in the last 2 weeks, and the response here in Darwin has been phenomenal. Sold out shows and great review already. Yeah, we're pretty happy.
We're pretty good Territorians. There's obviously so much trust amongst all of you, but I want to know about the emotional journey you all went on, getting in touch with yourself and talking about some stuff that's really difficult.
I think the main thing with that is obviously it was really, really hard, but it was the support of each other that constantly made it, and knowing that we all had each other's back, because like we all went through, like, because all of our families, as you heard, we all have different histories and different stories, and like none of our stories are the same, but we all had the same, not the same, but we all went through that process together, and I think that's what really builds our trust as a company, as an ensemble, and having that connection is what made like doing all the tricks and stuff easier, because we already trusted each other. We knew no matter what, we all had each other's back. Like the amount of times I've dropped this girl and she's like, "Nah, you had me, I knew it." Does anyone else want to?
Yeah, so like personally, when we developed it, it was very challenging. There were times where each of us would come into the room, would feel emotional, we'd feel a bit of dark energy, we'd feel light energy, and it was a matter of having to put in place mechanisms for me where I could detach from it, because it's such personal and traumatic kind of family history and whatnot, and also just being able to, as Pearl said, check in with each other. It's never easy having to tell these stories, but being able to tell it in a circus context and like a comedic and fun way helps for us to be able to process it, such a horrible history, and also it gives a sense of hope as well. You know, we're up here, we are strong young black fellas, and because it's our voices telling these stories, we have an opportunity to kind of, in a way, give voice to our ancestors and our families who went through this stuff, and to change the narrative for what's happening with our mobs. So, yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
One of the things that you just mentioned was the use of humour, and I know that as blackfellas we find it important to be able to laugh at ourselves, but why include humour in such an event or such a performance like this, and what does it do in terms of creating a safer space for its audience?
Well, there was some real, like when we started talking about themes and narrative and subject matter, a lot of it was quite heavy, as you noticed. But in my previous works, I've been involved with numerous shows as a performer, and as a means to reach the audience, to really hit home, we found that humour was the best way to do that. It opens yourselves up. We all like to have a bit of a laugh, but then also interject it with those heavy themes and those stories, because they are important to also convey. But also, I don't like to alienate an audience. I don't like to smack you on the head and listen to us. I got a lot of that in high school. So that was our means of, and also in the room, even with all these heavy themes, we still had a laugh. And it was something that we wanted to share with the audience as well.
You guys are the first Aboriginal circus performing group, which is excellent, right, in Australia? Yeah? What role does circus play in bringing these conversations to the table? I know that art is obviously one of those major factors in having conversations in a way that's not, you know, sitting down, like you're saying, in a schoolroom. But what does circus bring to the table in terms of creating those conversations?
Does anyone else? Again, personally, other people might have a different opinion as well. But blackfellas, culturally, even before colonisation, we were painters, we were oral storytellers, we were movers and stuff like that. So whatever form, you go all over Australia, and blackfellas love comedy. We love clowning around as well. We're a bunch of clowns, and like so many blackfellas all over love, like backflips and everything like that. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, it seems to be a natural thing that we like fit into, but kind of no matter like circus and the kind of like circus we're doing is kind of like a mashup of different genres as well. It's got movement, it's got like short skits and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a contemporary version of an ancient tradition that we've been doing, you know what I mean? And because circus is such a mixed bag, it allows us to be able to bring all of our styles of storytelling into the space here and explore it in that way. So cool.
Now, for the audience, what conversations do we need to be having when we leave this room today? What do we still need to be talking about when you guys are done, when the Darwin Festival's over? What does the audience need to do in terms of making sure that this performance here isn't forgotten, but in particular, the meaning behind it?
Well, that's a fairly big one. It's a significant one. The reality is, the 6 people here that you see before you are few. There aren't Indigenous circus performers for you picking. It was hard to make the show. So I guess that is a start. We need to provide more opportunities for First Nations people to access circus spaces, to create. The circus is just another form, it's another canvas, and we just need more canvases out there. Whether it be NT, Queensland, or WA, it doesn't matter, but we're just actually finding it really hard for opportunities to do programs like Blackflip, where we could just be in a space and create and make shows, or not, or just share stories.
And one of the things I think that stands out for a lot for me from the show that I got told people take away from it is just that if you reflect on all of our different stories, they were all so different. And now that you know a little bit about it, how do I say this? It's not like you can't judge someone just because of the base of their colour of their skin, and you can't judge their journey. And I feel like this show kind of welcomes you in and eases people into being allowed into that knowledge, where it doesn't, pretty much Lara's amazing speech at the end is just like, we are all Aboriginal and it doesn't matter the colour of our skin. Our stories are what have gotten us here, and that makes us no little, no less. Personally, that's a big message for me I hope people get from the show.
Also, like with the content, with, land grabbing and the history of kind of like slave labour and everything like that. It's not, as Natano said, it's not to beat you over the head, but it's like, hopefully it allows people to leave the space, and when you're walking along land, it might allow you a little bit more understanding, or to maybe like to stop and think and go, I wonder what happened right here. You know what I mean? I wonder if there was a family that used to live here back in the day that were taken, or something happened to them. And not to just kind of like constantly be like gloom and doom all the time, but just to create a bit more of an understanding of how certain areas of Australia are still unsettled because of the history, you know what I mean? Like there's unsettled spirits throughout, obviously everywhere, Northern Territory and stuff like that. So it's about kind of, hopefully when people leave this theatre, they don't leave and then go, that was nice, I've just gone to see a blackfella production and forget about it, but maybe like think about, whenever you have the opportunity, or remember just to think about, different places, sacred places, and mob that you run into on the street. You never know what trauma they may be feeling day to day as a result of colonisation, you know what I mean? So it's about creating a deeper understanding as to where blackfellas are at now socially as well, and understanding why, and the kind of like in-depth, multi-layered reasons as to why we're in this position right now, and how it needs to change as well. Cool.
Super important. I also think that a very important conversation to have is the show was great and all your friends should buy tickets.
I will second that. But seriously, it just goes to show, like from those comments there, that your guys' mentality is just as strong as your physical strength, and I think that's really important. I think I've gotten all the hard questions out of the way. If you guys want to know more about their act and how they manage to trust each other so deeply, or anything, if anyone has any question, feel free to ask it. Oh, I see a few hands. Come down to the stage, come down. Come and stand in their shoes for a couple of minutes.
Sorry, actually, I don't have a question. I just have a request in the future, I suppose. My name is Thervi, and I'm a special ed teacher in a local school here. And I know that my students would love you all to do a workshop in my school. So maybe next time when you all come up here, do a school workshop. It'd be really fantastic. There's only one organization that does it here locally, but I think coming from various communities and also going to the communities and do workshop. The students love circus. So that's just a request next year. Thank you.
I like a good opportunist, so absolutely. Hello, do you have a question? Come on up. You feeling pretty inspired by them?
Yeah, yes, I am really. I just want to know how they got to get all that trust.
Yeah, that's a great question. Who would like to take it? There you go.
Practice. It sounds sounds dumb. We play a lot of games as well. It's and try and make a safe space physically on a really low basic level before we take things in the air. But everyone here has been working really hard together. And a show like this doesn't work if you replace people. You can't sub bodies in and just think the trust will be there. It's something that takes time to build over rehearsals and training periods. And then once you kind of have that trust, it just stays. And yeah, I know. I trust these guys with my life. Yeah.
Hey, come back, come back, come back. What particular part of the show did you like the most?
I did like when you wanted to beat each other, like the girls versus the boys. Boys, boys. No, it's actually the boys.
I don't know, I heard a few comments saying girls over on this side. I don't know. Is there any other questions that anybody would like to ask? Yeah?
How did you all come together? So you're all from different parts of Australia. Who brought you all together?
There was a program in Melbourne with Circus Oz called Blackflip, which started out as a master program to take First Nations artists from all over the world to bring them into Circus Oz's space and to basically teach them circus and develop theatre skills and a whole bunch of different aspects to circus, which was started by a couple of people, I think Joshi Bond and Naretha, what's Naretha's last name? Williams, got together and approached Circus Oz and said, we want to create this program to give opportunity to blackfellas to come in and sort of get a taster for circus. Yep, there wasn't any. And I think myself and Jack were one of the first. We've stuck around for the whole time. And then these guys slowly started to come in, and then we kind of developed this crew. But Blackflip's been going for since 2012, 13? Yeah, 12. There you go. And from that, Chasing Smoke has now branched off and is with Cassis and its own entity. But Blackflip still happens, and that's why we're sort of out here going, here's an option for, young Indigenous people to, if they want to do something different, dancing and acting, and they, like it all, and they want to try circus, they come along and give it a shot. Yeah.
Black Flip isn't just for young people. Any age can come from 16 plus. And yeah, if you're more matured and you would like to give circus a go, yeah, look into it and you can come try it out as well.
Yeah, I forgot that one.
One more question just from that. In the industry that I'm in, there's a lot of comments as to, yeah, but why do blackfellas need something separate? Why does it just for them? Oh, she's got the answer.
Okay. So with some of the things that we spoke about today is that like 50 years ago, we couldn't work, we couldn't buy land. So we haven't had the intergenerational opportunities to create wealth and create growth, which therefore means that some of us don't have the money. And that's just blatantly it, especially for this field. It is an elite sport to get into, to do gymnastics or ballet or anything from a young age. There is so much money in that. And unfortunately, that is part of the reason. But in saying that also, one of the reasons why you don't see any of us there is because there hasn't been that opportunity before. You haven't seen yourself on that stage as no one that's led the pathway to show that there is an Indigenous circus company that you can do that. I think it's a mix between both, but personally I grew up very, very poor and always wanted to do gymnastics and dance, and we just couldn't afford it until I am here now. But I feel like, opportunities like Black Flip are important because you do have that chance to go and have that little taster. And we are definitely wanting to take this out to community and regionally too. And that's what we are passionate about. That's what we want to do with it. But yeah, personally, that's why my experience in it.
And also, programs like this are good to just generate more of us on stage, to create pathways that more of us can get up here. So when we started to try and do this show, or even through the Black Flip program, I'm pretty sure all of us can count on our fingers how many Indigenous circus performers there are, that are around. There is not that many. So these programs are important so that we get more.
It's also about equity. If we were to do, here's a circus program, generally, then you're going to just get, people from all over. Mob from all over Australia, I'm talking about blackfellas, need, as Pearl was saying, need the specific opportunities. Otherwise, it's just going to get flooded with people who already have privileged opportunities. You know what I mean? So we need the separate ones because also we need head starts because we've been given such a backward step, you know what I mean? Constantly been punch back down, punch back down, punch back down, that we actually need programs to get us on par, unfortunately, with the rest of Australia. You know what I mean? It's the same, not just with circus or performing, it's with medicine. People go, oh, but why does that blackfella from Western Australia, get a fast track into medicine? But it's just you know what? They need the scholarship to get to university because they're not getting the same opportunities as someone in the city, you know what I mean? And we need medical people who can come back to our own communities to heal our own communities, you know what I mean? And so we need those opportunities, so, yeah.
And we're also trying to create pathways, not just with circus. We had someone come in to do costume design, so that was another avenue, another opportunity for someone else. We're just trying to create pathways and opportunities for all across the field of circus and theatre, rigging, costume design, set design, anything. Yeah, we had some ACPA students watching the rehearsals to give them another sort of avenue of theatre stuff. So just creating opportunities across the board, really.
All right, I'll throw it back to the floor. Any other questions? Yep.
Cheers. Yeah, so the last 100 years, there's obviously been a lot of changes, and you know, the history's pretty mind-blowing to me. If there's 3 things in the next 100 years that you'd like to change, what would they be? Sorry.
Who wants this first? Can we come back to that? You willing to let that happen?
I was just wondering how long you've been working on this program. I know you said a few of you started Blackflip, like that was your origins, but how long have you been doing specifically Chasing Smoke and working on this show that you've put on today? Yeah, just how many years have gone in from each of you, because you're all very different ages and stage of life, so it's just interesting. I'm interested to know.
So I'm second generation circus performer. So my mum was a circus performer, and my dad was like a dancer and stuff like that. He works for a company called Bulbul Yala. So for me, I've started since I was little. So since I was born, I've been training and doing stuff. Blackflip, I've been doing since 2013. I've only missed like 1 or 2. So for me, 20 plus years. And for everyone else, there's a fair few years and stuff. Chasing Smoke in particular has been 2 years. 1.5. I'll give that to Natano.
So last year, in May last year, we premiered the show, and we only had 3 weeks to make the show, which is a very short amount of time, as you can imagine. And I didn't know any of the 6. I kind of had a couple of months leading up to those 3 weeks, kind of going, oh, you used to do gymnastics. Oh, you were a dancer. Oh, you did some acting. Cool, and a couple of circus people. And then I formulated some acts in my mind, hoping that skeleton would hold when I met them. And then in the space, we just went 200 kilometers an hour, unapologetically, and just fleshed it out. And lucky, the chemistry and everything worked. I also got to note that with this kind of work, yeah, we worked hard on all the acrobatics and all the physicality, making sure they were sound. But every day we check in with land. That's been a really big component for us. I've learnt a lot about the culture. I'm a black fella, but from another country called Samoa, right in the middle of the Pacific. Very similar, we're really connected to land, and I'm really oceanic, but really summon the forefathers and foremamas to look over us when we make our work. And so, thankfully, this is the same with this mob. So every day we do that, and it's really sort of been a great foundation for our work. So having that as the push. And then everything after that seems to come into place, luckily, hey. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'll hand it over to Dylan in a moment, but first of all, I'll grab your card and we'll email, and I'll make sure that we'll be in contact, because we do workshops, and like we've all said, it's not about money. This is actually about it's a bigger story than that, and making sure that we are this Chasing Smoke is just a vessel and an inspiration for the next and everyone else. But yeah, every workshop that we do, we make sure that we don't go in there with massive amount of props and equipment and then take all those equipment, because that's pointless. So we would like to use the resources. If there's trees and grass and that, we teach workshops on that. That's how it is.
To reach out to people like Natano and other places and just say, look, this is what I've thought about, and do you have anything in mind that you could possibly give? No matter how small or big, there's a lot of people out there willing to help. We just don't know how to spread it out there yet, so we're just trying to figure that out. And another one is, funnily enough, with the technological age, is YouTube and things like that, and just showing people what is out there and what can be done. because that can start a fire and they go, yeah, I want to do that. And then trying to branch them from there, I suppose, is a good way as well.
Just for anyone that wants to do circus, my number one tip is start doing your core. Lots and lots of sit-ups, plank holds, whatever. Just start now.
We are going to have to wrap it up. I know that you had a question as to what 3 things you think they all think need to change. And I feel like as young Aboriginal people, we're constantly asked that. So I think it's reflective for you to all ask yourself that question when you leave. And that is pretty much it. And I'm sure that these mob are so lovely that they'll come and tell you personally their 3 things.